Hello and welcome along to another episode of this FM22 One Club story from Hemel Hempstead Town with me, Daniel. We're back today for part 128 and it is all getting a little bit tense in the race for the top four. The top two in the league, particularly Liverpool, the leaders, are running away with things there. I think we're the only side that stopped them getting 3 points this season, but below that it is carnage. 4 points separating third to 10th. We are top of that tree at the moment, but a lot of draws is making this very, very close. We're also juggling with Champions League football, and today we go away to Atletico Madrid, who maybe surprised us when we played them in the reverse fixture. But if you're looking forward to a massive trip in Europe, and of course a trip to Sheffield United scrapping for their lives in the Premier League, then please do put a thumbs up on the video, subscribe down below for daily FM22 content. We had an absolutely huge one in the Helsingborg save yesterday. I'll put a link to that episode up in the eye above. There's also links there to the head coach, the Twitch channel, the football podcast, and the merchandise store too. And you can support the show as a channel member by clicking the join button down below. But thank you as always for your incredible support as we return for a big game in the league, but more importantly, a massive one in the Champions League. Because if we have a look at the schedule and see what's been going on since you were last with me, it's been getting interesting. So you were here for the win against Liverpool and Shakhtar. We actually followed that up with a bit of frustration. We seem to be struggling after the Champions League games or after the international breaks. And the same happened against Aston Villa, where we were held to a 0-0 and we didn't really blow them away. And then a 2-2 after the internationals away at Chelsea. Again, we went ahead in this game at 2-1. Mario Ricca got the goal with 20 minutes to go. But unfortunately, we were pegged back from the kickoff and it finished like that. So not the worst result, but probably the best we've played against one of the big sides on paper. Although Chelsea haven't started the best. Against Atletico Madrid, though, we had surprise of the save, and we owe an apology to one of our players because Danny Harrison, who we said, is he going to be good enough for Champions League football? Well, every time he comes on the pitch, he scores a goal. You saw it against Shakhtar. He did the same against Atletico almost immediately. Adeyemi had actually put them level at half-time after Arlan's early penalty, but he got a second, and then Torres, Harrison and Carlos Martin got one apiece. But yeah, absolutely stunning performance off the bench from Harrison. We all owe him a collective apology. Arsenal were the opponents at the weekend, and I think it actually helped playing against another side that had a European game in midweek. Because when we played Villa, when we played sides that didn't have that, we really struggled. This occasion, though, it works out all right. German Moreira, Carlos Torres and Mario Ricca with the goals. We then let in one, should have had a second against. It started to look like the PSG game in the Super Cup final. So I just put us back to the back five. And thankfully, we saw it out in the ugliest fashion. We're on 3-0 at home to Millwall in the Carabao Cup fourth round. 2 for Torres and 1 for Jason Dolner off the bench. Debuts as well for Afiz Agbar and for Dean Arthur there too. And then a 3-0 win away at Brighton at the weekend. Ricca, Ricketts and Mailton back amongst the goals after a poor spell. So today we head to Atletico with not too much pressure actually, because we've won all 3 games. If we win this one, we're through. We can play the reserves the last 2. It's been a pretty easy start to the Champions League, given the quality Atletico should have. We've also got a slightly friendlier draw in the League Cup, given the teams that are left. You can see that United play City, Chelsea play Liverpool, and we've got a game against Leicester who are in mid-table, albeit Chelsea are there too. So it is looking okay for us at the moment, but for now, the focus is purely on getting through in this one. And we're going to head into the game. Away at Atletico Madrid, a big one for Hemel Hempstead Town Football Club. The new stadium has been absolutely brilliant to us, but this time we're heading to the Cauldron at the Metropolitano. So let's chuck the opposition instructions on that are recommended, have a look at who's fit for today, and that's where the next concern comes, because 3 of the back 4 are struggling. At the weekend, we've got a tough game before the international break, then a few will get a couple of weeks off, but we are going to have to adjust a bit. So back in a moment when we've done that, we'll run through the starting 11. Well, some fairly big decisions being made today. We have got some troubles up front because Mario Ricca is not really scoring goals. He's just started to find his form now, but it's not been a good season so far. The interest is still there for big money, and I've got a sneaky suspicion he's going to be going this January, which, to be fair, at 27 is probably his last chance to get the big move. We're just eyeing up a couple of replacements we may have found now as well. We are having to make some changes in midfield. Arthur Ndu's had a lot of football since his injuries and I want to keep him fit. Mailton can't do 3 in a week straight after injury. and we've got to make the changes at the back. You saw the fatigue. So our 11 for today as a result is John Moore in goal. We've got Jose and Peebles at fullback with Hannifan and Jura as centre-half. In midfield is De Vita, Coronel, Moreira and Carlos Martin going back to his former club. And then Mario Rica and Tyrese Ricketts up front. Bags of pace, bags of quality. But will there be bags of goals to follow? I'm really looking forward to seeing how Martin does in Spain. I'm looking forward to seeing if we can hold our own with a makeshift back four. Because the backup defence may be the only area I'd like to improve now. So let's see how it fares in this one today. Well, 6 changes from our weekend league game. It's a fairly luxurious position to be in because we can lose this and still have things in our own hands. But you'd imagine this Atletico side is fairly old because Saini's side feature the likes of Bastoni and Cucurella at the back, Billy Gilmore, Alexi Sailmakers and Martin Erdegaard in the middle, and Adiemi who got the goal in a reverse game up front. That's 6 real players 14 years in. I mean, they're all going to be in their 30s, so I'm hoping we can overrun them physically, which seems to be what we found easier against them last time. But our lads, it's a rotated side, it's not the strongest defence, so in the first half, there is a risk we get blown away. Through the tunnel interview into the first half, this is going to be a real test of how far we can go this year. Well, it's been a very boring game so far, to be honest. 27 minutes on the clock. We're back for the first highlight as Atletico have had the better of the stats, have had the only shots on target, but there's not much in it. As Erdegaard gets in, it's a good save from John Moore. We can always rely on him to save us. Already the best rated player on the pitch. We're not surprised by that in these big games anymore, as Gilmore puts the corner in, headed away by Peebles. Only as far as Acedo on the left side of the box, back to Erdegaard and Acedo again. Erdegaard forced backwards to Bastoni, chips over the top, but it inexplicably ends there, and I'm presuming it was offside because the highlight resumes with John Moore's free kick in the same position, as De Vita gives the ball to Jura at the back. Out to the left to Peebles, getting a rare Champions League outing here, gives the ball away to Erdegaard and probably shows why it is a rare outing nonetheless, but it's out to Rica. He gives the ball away now. Gilmore releases George, intercepted by Hannifan, and Moore can bring it away to Jura. Maybe unlucky not to have played more this year, but just goes back to his keeper this time. It's a long ball forward over the top. Ricketts will chase. Headed away as far as Sailmakers. Someone we've managed in the head coach this year, of course. Out to Singo on the right-hand side. Good overlap from the fullback. To the byline he goes. Back to Acedo and Sailmakers and Singo. Into George. It's a wonderful move. But the shot's into the side netting. 0-0 it stays. Atletico dominant. We need to cling on to half-time here. Oh, it's a corner kick with Erdegaard to the back post. Peebles heads away yet again. Acedo keeps it in on the left. Cuts it inside to Bastoni. He keeps possession to Fabiano. Sailmakers has an overlap on the right from Singo. Finds him. Gets towards the byline. Chance to cross again. Singo back to the edge of the box. Finds Gilmore and Acedo to Erdegaard. It's been a brilliant display from the host. They've got to take advantage because you'd imagine this old side will tie a second half. Ricketts gets on the end of it though. Can he counter? Big hoof downfield and now we're breaking as Rica down the right. Atletico getting numbers back but Rica takes them on. Delivers towards Ricketts. Luis Jr. holds. A very, very long highlight. You'd imagine this is going to lead to something because we've not yet had a great chance from it. Junior taking his time, goes for the long kick. George flicks it on, but Jura gets there. To Peebles. Into Coronel in the centre circle. Through ball to Carlos Martin against his former club. Oh my words. Atletico didn't want him. And he's put an absolute perler in the top corner from 25 yards. And maybe this signifies why the other AI managers struggle in this save. Because if you're selling Carlos Martin for 30 million and keeping 35-year-olds in attacking midfield, you're always at risk of that. It could not be more against the run of play. Atletico have been dominant. All we've seen is them attacking, and the same happens here. Acedo right side of the box, but it's 1-0 Hemel Hempstead. But for how long? Acedo back to Erdegaard. Turns to Vita, makes a great challenge. And now we've got a 3-on-2 on the counter again. Carlos Martin carrying it. What a point he's got to prove. Goes all the way. No one gets there. It's a great save in the top corner from Luis Jr. The man is inspired against his former club. He clearly wants to prove a point, and he clearly deserves to be in their football team. Luis Fabiano heads the corner away, but Carlos Martin, you could not write that script, could you? Atletico's expected goals over 1 at half-time. They've had 3 times the shots on target, but they've not managed to do anything with it. And on the breakaway, we've got a man who wants to prove a point. That's all you need sometimes. We're just over an hour gone. We've got a slight knock to German Moreira, who is going to come off now. I'm going to replace him with the youngster Louise. He'll go in the middle, switch sides with Coronel. We'll leave the last ones a couple of minutes, although Rick has had a poor game again. So I'm going to bring on Danny Harrison. Torres has got a heavy match load. Danny Harrison has been brilliant when he's come on in Europe. Let's see if he can be a super sub for the third time in a row. Well, 20 minutes left. The other man struggling a bit is Jack Hanifan, and now he's in the England squad. We've got to be more careful with him. So Kay Striker, who's gone from first choice to fourth choice in the space of a year, is going to come on as centre-half. But I have full trust in them. They're a brilliant side. And with 10 minutes to go, despite the fact we've been completely outplayed, we've offered very little going forward. And in fact, I think the goal for Carlos Martin is one of only 2 attacks we've seen the whole game. But despite that, it's 1-0 up. Although, here comes Cucurella down the left. That looks a foul. The commentary says it looks harsh. VAR, come and save us. Say it started outside the box. Say it was a dive. We need a moment of luck, but I think this will be given. It is. Penalty awarded. John Moore, where are your heroics? Because it doesn't matter how well you play. It doesn't matter how well you discipline yourself defensively. It only takes one moment. Kaio George puts it away with aplomb. And with 6 minutes to go, Atletico are level. And having been the better side for the most part, they'll probably want to chase the game now. Let's see if they can do it or not. 1-1, still not a bad result. Well, we've encouraged the lads into 3 minutes of stoppage time. We've picked up a knock with Danny Harrison. Not really what we were looking for. But to be honest, it's a good point in the end. Atletico's expected goals 2.5 to our half. Carlos Martin against his former club though, a man inspired to the highest order. A brilliant result, disciplined defensively, and we're in pole position to get through in the Champions League. With 10 points we're effectively through, it's now about winning the group. Time to turn our attention to the Premier League, and Danny Harrison has just about recovered. The same cannot be said for German Moreira, who is out injured. But more importantly than all of that, remind me never to let Jack Hanifan go. He is resolving every bit of player unhappiness that keeps cropping up. And as a result, we're having a relatively easy job here. Annoyingly, none of our players are featured in the best 50 in the world. Ricker was in the top 20 or 30 last year, not in there at all this season. So I think he's going to be pushing for a move soon. He can see some of the older boys at other clubs. I don't think it's going to be long. We've got a big game at Sheffield United though. We've had intermittent European hangovers this year. They will have had the whole week off. They're scrapping for their lives at the bottom. And we're going to have to make changes again. So let's get the opposition instructions on. Let's go through to the team selection. We'll be back in a moment to run through the 11 that we're trusting at Bramall Lane. And here we go with a much rotated side again. It's 3 changes to the back 4 as we return to full strength. 3 changes in the midfield diamond. One of them, of course, enforced. And a change up front as well. So not much of the same 11. Little bit of squad management going on here before the internationals. But the 11 we've gone for in the end is John Moore in goal. Chauvin and Delgado back in at fullback with Zarukin alongside Jack Hanifan the star. We got Arlan and Du, Coronel switching sides and Mailton as the midfield diamond. With Ricker out of form alongside Torres up front. But on the bench there's plenty of quality. There's plenty of strength in depth. How much of it are we going to need today? Off to Sheffield United in 18th place. This is about a battle of our conditioning. If we're in top shape, if we're playing well, we will beat them, as we did Brighton last week. Well, we win the battle of the number of changes by 7-2. They've got Chiari Dawkins at centre-half, who is someone we've tried to sign before. Probably got one of the younger sides in the Premier League as well. Salvador, you may remember the name of. He was the wonder kid defender we were trying to sign right at the end of last season. Might have even been in the episode with the Europa League final. But he's gone to Sheffield United and they should on paper be a really good side. But as it is, they're really struggling. We've got most of the lads motivated. Let's get through the tunnel interview into the first half. Hopefully, we can make this a comfortable win. As for some reason, Sheffield United is the only team this happens against. The kit clash every time they play in the red and white stripes against our Reds. Doesn't happen with any other side. But there you go. That's the frustration over as they've got the ball at the back. It's so hard to tell them apart when they're not facing you front on. As Bravo goes wide to Yankov and Jack. Through ball intercepted by Zaruk. Into Ndu in the middle. Can we get a fast start? We can't. Dawkins heads it away, but only as far as Chauvin. Ricker holds up for Mailton. Torres through to Ndu, who's made his classic midfield run. He dinks the goalkeeper in absolutely glorious fashion. And in the 3rd minute, we're 1-0 up. It's one of the rested men, Arthur Ndu, set up by another one of the rested men in Carlos Torres. One shot, one on target, one goal, and we're back just a few minutes later as Zaruk plays out to Delgado on the left. Gives the ball away, it's a little bit untidy that, and Jack releases Salvador. The left back's out of position, so he's got a chance to work it in here. Morris releases Rakon, great challenge Hanifan, and the second one's blocked by Chauvin. No idea what Moore's doing, but that is wonderful defending from Jack Hanifan, the skipper. As Yankov will put the corner kick in swinger to Salvador, back to the edge to Hopper, good save from Moore down to his left. Sheffield United having a bit of a threat here. We need to make sure we don't get complacent. We've got to keep on the front foot. We need a second goal. We need to get on top. As we're 27 minutes gone, we're back with a little bit of a scrap in the middle of the park. Delgado goes back to Zaruk, who starting to grow into his shirt now, really doing well with the big money signing from the summer, as Hanifan gets it from Moore and out to Chauvin. He's got two options in midfield, instead goes backwards again. Arthur Ndu drops deep to collect it though, plays a brilliant through ball to Ricker, gets the wrong side of Dawkins, gets in one-on-one, and the dink is there again. Mario Ricker, we've got to make the most of him. We got offered silly money last year but had to keep him because there were no alternatives available to replace him. This year, with that being the case, I'd imagine he's probably going to be off. We're going to get at least a 9-figure sum for him. It's going to be massive, but it's going to be a big loss. A model pro, a brilliant goal scorer, and a superstar. But we've got to be realistic. Ricker is going to be off this January, but he's doing his best to give us a show to remember him by. As we're back with 5 minutes to the break, Arthur Ndu in possession. Gives the ball to Moulton and Torres in the centre circle. Releases Ricker, shoots from distance. That one was slightly ambitious. Straight at the keeper. Wasn't ever going to beat him, let's be honest. And at half time, it will remain 2-0. It's been a really good display, really professional effort. And with 2 weeks off after this, it'd be the perfect way to go into the international break. As we're 10 gone in the second half, we've got a throw on the right-hand side with Chauvin. Advanced position to Ricker. Back to Chauvin again, who delivers. Coronel's up, but Salvador, our summer target, heads away. Only as far as Delgado and Arlan. To Ricker. Oh, smashes the woodwork. It goes out for a goal kick. It's very unlucky. But Mario Ricker is in form. I'm wondering for January if we could maybe be cheeky and offer a swap deal for Salvador and replace him with K Striker. I reckon that would lower our wage bill and give us a better player. But with a quarter of the game to go, let's focus on our match. We're going to take Coronel off, who's the only player to start in midweek, and do 90 here in midfield. We're going to bring Luis, the youngster, on for him. And then we'll bring Carlos Martin, who was obviously a star in Atletico, away on for Moulton, who's still just returning to fitness, should only have 75 minutes today. And then it's either Arthur Ndu or Dominic Chauvin. Neither played at the weekend, so shouldn't be knackered. But Jose is probably the best replacement of the two. So we'll give it 5 minutes and make that decision. 2-0 it remains with 20 to go. Well, with 2 weeks off, we've got to look at the internationals. Chauvin will play every game. Arthur Ndu won't. Ricker will as well, though. So do we look at him instead? I'm going to go for Mario Ricker and give Danny Harrison another chance because Ricketts is a little bit tired anyway. He'll play the full 90 minutes for Jamaica in both games. So let's make sure we keep people fresh. Harrison's not an international, so he's got an opportunity to come on here. As Carlos Martin picks it up in the centre circle, finds the aforementioned Harrison. Gives it to Chauvin, goes all the way back to the keeper, composed play, keep in possession, and just doing a professional job. As Zaruk to Delgado. On the left finds Luis. Through ball towards Torres. It's a good one. Keeps himself onside. 3 in the box. Harrison's one. I think he's just offside. But I've got to say, he looks such a goal threat most of the time that he really doesn't deserve to be labelled as maybe not good enough. He's not happy because he's 4th choice and he wants to get in the international setup. But I'm not sure he's good enough for that. And ultimately, we're not getting a better 4th choice striker. So 5 minutes to go. That goal is disallowed. But it stays 2-0. And to be honest, Sheffield United have barely had a threat. 3 minutes of stoppage time done. It's a great way to start the Premier League day. We've played before everyone else. We've closed the gap a little. And more importantly, widened it to 4th and 5th. The lads are pleased. I'm pleased. Now let's look at the schedule for when we're next going to be back. We're now 7 unbeaten after a slow start. A few too many draws in there for my liking, but the defensive record is starting to stack up. Arthur Ndu, the unexpected hero today. So let's have a look at the schedule because we are going to leave it a little while now. The Carabao Cup quarter-final isn't the biggest game. The 2 Champions League game now should be a little bit less important. And annoyingly, we've had a Leeds game squeezed in between the City and Chelsea ones at the end of December. But I think we're going to come back for those last 2 games of the calendar year. Mainly because I then want to show the last 2 games of January as well. But City and Leeds is the plan at the moment. We'll see how it adapts as we go along. If you're looking forward to the rest of the season and you did enjoy this one though, Carlos Martin, a hero in Atletico, and Sheffield United, a job well done. And please do chuck a thumbs up on it. Subscribe down below for daily FM22 content. We'll be back tomorrow with Helsingborg. We had the biggest episode of the series so far yesterday. You can find that one up in the eye above. There's also links there to the head coach if you missed that series earlier in the year, the Twitch channel, the football podcast, and the merchandise store too. But of course, above my head now is yesterday's Helsingborg video. Do give it a go in the meantime, and I'll see you back here in a couple of days for a big double header in the Premier League. The race for the top 4 is on. Thanks for watching.